TJ the Wheel Deal coming at you live. It is Tuesday, August the 4th, 9:15 a.m. Central Time, Texas time. Hope you guys are doing well, man. I'm doing pretty good. The team's doing pretty good because, most of us have positions in Palantir, and obviously Palantir is just crushing it. Just absolutely crushing it. So anyway, we're gonna get into it today. We're gonna go through the rundown. I've already built I've had Claude built the new deck, so we're good there. Our position delta on Palantir went from 34,000 positive to 10,000. So we're making a lot of money on the shares. We're making a lot of money on the short puts, but we're down a lot of money on the short calls. Those are the gimmies and the gotchas. The good news is every call is still out of the money. The closest one that we have, because I rolled from the 165s to the 160s. So that's from 165 to 170. And the stocks are like 154, 155. So we still have room. We still have a lot of room. It's a fun place to be. It's a fun place to be for the stock going up. You're 100% qualified for all of the capital appreciation on the shares themselves. The short puts are printing money, which is the backstop trade. That is the trademark of our channel. It's what we do. It's what we do. We make money on backstop trades. Everything else is like gravy. And it's fun. And it's fun. And it's fun when you know you're going to get it right, but you actually have substantial money behind it. That's when it's fun because you're like, man, we earned this thing. We earned this thing. We're buying Palantir a couple of months ago, building up the position up to 30,000. And the only thing you hear is the Furos on X talking about valuation and all this other stuff. And, this lady that's always trying to predict when the market's going to bottom and all this stuff, saying, oh, it's going to go to this level, this level, this level. And it's like, okay, cool. How much money do you make predicting that, though? It's like, people are so enamored with trying to be like the next Miss Cleo versus why don't you just establish a position and figure out how to manufacture the win? Because at the end of the day, if you want to retire your family, you're going to have to take a lot of positions and they're going to have to work out in your favor. Unless you have a million people watching you, or, like our boy Amit's got 10,000 people watching him live, sometimes more, you can make a lot of money just talking about the stock market. You can do that. You don't necessarily have to take on a lot of positions. You can make money being in the quote unquote prediction business. But that's not what we do here. We don't have that kind of audience to begin with, right? So what we do is we actually sell puts, sell calls, collect premium, roll when it makes dollars and cents. Because at the end of the day, that's how we make money. I mean, it's peanuts, the money that we make on social media. So we certainly can't look at that as a strong possibility to, oh, that's what I'm going to do for a living, if that makes sense. So anyway, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. Hope you guys are doing well. Let me give a shout out to Mike D, Prabs, Shamu, always showing up. August, what's going on, my man? Daniel, Angel, wheeling and dealing, my man, selling puts, selling calls on Hood now and SoFi. I like that book. I like that book a lot, man. Good for you, Jeremy. Good for you. Let's get into it, man. Without further ado, let's get into the tape, if you will. See what's what. So we have where we stand, position walkthrough, and I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at it, guys. I just put the screenshot out there 10 minutes ago, set up the live, and here we go. So we'll do this together. Let me know whether or not you guys can see that comfortably, because we had a couple of comments saying, I can't read it, this, that, and the other. Can you zoom in? I'm like, well, can you zoom in? I mean, because this is max for us, and I'm looking at my phone in the background, and it looks pretty legible to me. So let me know. Let me know what's what. I feel like we're good. Let's get into it. So tonight, Palantir earnings, Tuesday, we did all that. We did all that already. I wonder if this is, so we need to get a different one though. I feel like this is yesterday's. Let me see. Bear with me a little bit. Gotta talk to my little computer. to my little robot. Bear with me. Let me get over here and book walkthrough. I feel like I downloaded the book walkthrough. Maybe I clicked the wrong one. Let me see. Book walkthrough. Downloads. And this is the book walkthrough. This is it. Let me just look at it in the background to see what's what. Let me go talk to the little agent. It's not giving me what I want. It's not giving. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Our little agent's acting weird. The book walkthrough is the same as yesterday. Let's reprimand her a little bit. Yeah, I want to see the way I talked to her. Let's go here. How do I do it? If I go stream, I go this guy here, and then I click over here. Let me talk to her. Let's see what she said. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So can you put the fresh one here? Can you put the fresh link here so I can download it and go live? I guess that is one thing I could look at, right? Because the net leg should have been like 9.6. Maybe that's what it did say. I just didn't give it a chance. Let's just see if she just gives me the fresh link. There we go. Okay, we're going to try this again. So here we go. So we go this way. We go this way. Downloads. It is the same one. I think it's just what threw me off is right here. It says Monday the 3rd. I got it. Okay, I guess it's the same shit. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so what's what? So we had Pltr earnings today. We had Pltr earnings. Obviously, everything worked out. SpaceX today. SpaceX, guys. That's going to be fun. That's keeping it going. This is just kind of like summary, table of contents. I think we already caught up there. We're good. Let's get to the good stuff. So there we go. So it is accurate. My bad. Sorry, Claude. So anyway, so what do we got going on here? We have the book. We're at 9.6. Remember, we were in the sixes for a while, guys. We were in the sixes for a while. Things are starting to turn around a little bit for us. So whenever you have a bunch of shares, mathematically, it makes it a little bit easier for a massive rebound in short order if you have some cooperation, like, something like Pltr stock that's just getting back to where it was, right? I mean, that's the reality. Like, I mean, Pltr's gotten its ass kicked for the last year or so, but it was due. It's due to get back. I think if you just look at the structure, and I'll see if I can pull up Trading View at the end. I think 150, 151 is a real big area because that's like the downtrend line. So if it gets on the other side of that and it closes above like 151, 152, then you can kind of say that it's outside of the downtrend and maybe it can start forming a new short-term uptrend, if you will. So we'll see. So we're up a lot today. We got $1 million in cash. It's going good. SoFi, again, we're complete. We got the 250,000 shares. We do have 2 calls on SoFi, so that's problematic. Palantir, we're solid. We're solid. Everything's looking good there. MSTR, we're building. This is, basically going towards the North Star. So it says strong open with 856,000, zero trades placed. I did place a trade since then. I rolled the 165s to 170. That's the book working on its own, a new theta record at 58,000 a day. And the only reason the theta went up is because we're in the hole on a lot of calls. So that's not really a good thing per se if you really understand the context. It just means that we're getting our ass kicked on a few short calls right now, or covered calls like on Palantir and SoFi, because both of those have gone up and to the right. And that's really like SoFi is responsible for a lot of this net lick right now, because we were down $5,700,000 on the actual shares, and now we're approaching even on the shares. So just to give context, and we were in the hole about 300 or 400,000 on Palantir shares at one point, and now we're up, $750,000 or so on the actual Palantir shares. So there's that. Micron is the exception. It's a big one, down 26 shares, giving back 99 in the August put. I didn't even know that Micron was down. Let me look at my other phone. I thought Micron was doing okay today. This is the thing. Whenever you have an event like today on Palantir, you kind of like disregard the rest of the book. So let me see what's going on with Micron. No, Micron's well, I don't know. This thing's saying it's up quite a bit. This thing's saying it's. I feel like that information is not accurate. Let me refresh. Yeah, Micron's at 880. So that's weird. So we'll definitely we'll go reprimand our little robot again. And she'll say something like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at such and such code and all this other bullshit." But anyway, the money three ways says what we paid for the shares, what they're worth. I'm just trying to go through this quick because I want to focus on Palantir. So profit on the day, pretty straightforward. There's Palantir, went from 125 to 151. Now it's at like 154, I believe. Again, this is the gimmies and the gotchas whenever you're using this versus, and I'll flip over to the actual brokerage in a little bit just to get more. Yeah, Palantir's already at 157 according to Yahoo Finance. It's fucking crazy. So anyway, there's one more move that I might have to pull here in a second. I just didn't want to do that. But I'm going to look at it, roll the $80 strikes on the backstop to 100 just to give me more positive long deltas. So that's the move. I didn't want to have to do that today. I wanted to give it 3 days, and I may still do. I wanted to give it like 2 or 3 days to marinate, to make sure that the move's legitimately going to hold before I take on more risk, because I would legitimately be taking on more risk going from 80 on the puts to 100, right? Because you're going to go from $8 million in notional to $10 million in notional. So there's gimmies and gotchas. The good news is they're going to give us a shitload of premiums for that. And we're locking in a win on those puts, on the $80 puts. The gotcha is on a drawdown, all of the money that we would now be making on the short calls is not going to offset the money that we're going to be getting our ass kicked on the short puts and the drawdown from the shares themselves. So, there's always a game. For every gimme, there's a gotcha, right? So this is all of it, kind of in a nutshell, very, very straightforward. Everything's pretty green across the board, guys. Pretty green again. So let me go just, because this is annoying. So let me go talk to Claude again and be like, the book shows Micron down when it's trading at over 880 as we speak. Can you fix? There we go. So anyway, we'll keep that going. We'll keep that. Which one? Where is it? This one. There we go. No, that's not it. Shit. Which one is it? Is it this one? There we go. So anyway, I feel like this is wrong. Maybe she'll be able to remedy it. The premium chain, we collected a shitload of premium. This is all of it here. This is from yesterday. Yeah, we sold the calls on SoFi, and then we bought the shares with we bought the shares on Tesla. So that's what that's showing. This is just SoFi. So now we have the covered calls at 20, and then we have naked calls at 25. And I'm not done with this position. What I'm looking to do is I just got to make sure that the buying power kind of works out for us. And I'm going to show you how to create this book in your portfolio as well. This is something that I've been meaning to share with you guys. It's pretty straightforward. Um, I'm going to sell puts. I'm going to sell 2,500 puts at 15. And basically, I've already got the strangle in place for December. And then we're going to be able to just wait it out on the calls. If SoFi is above 20, I got a decision to make. Are we going to roll, or I'm just going to let the shares get called away, make money, free up $4 or $5 million, and then go manage the. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that yet, but I have that option at my disposal. So here's Palantir. Here's Palantir. So this is what's going on with Palantir. We got 30,000 shares at 127. It's up 25, and now it's up like $30. It seems for the day. We're up a lot on the shares, but our net delta here is showing at plus 15,000. When we go to the actual book in a second, you're going to see that it's a lot less than that now. So just giving y'all a real nice view here of everything that we got going. And then we're going to go to the actual brokerage, because whenever it's a position that's real delicate like this, it's going to be busy. I apologize, but we're going to have to go to the brokerage because I might have to make a move right now. So the print landed revenue was amazing. We already know, right? We already know. Most of y'all tune into Amit's channel the way that I do as well. And we already know that they fucking crushed it. Bottom line. They crushed it, and they're going to continue to crush it. And what I like about Palantir, what I love about Palantir compared to SoFi, is they're willing to put it all on the line, man. They're willing to put it all on the line and put really high goals that aren't easily attainable. And the CEO's like, it's going to be hard to do, but I think that we can do it. That's a fucking company that's going for it versus SoFi is just conservative. We went on to let you down. God forbid we overpromise and underdeliver one time. You'll never forgive us. And I was like, no, dude, just fucking go for it. Just fucking go for it. And that's where Anthony Noto's here and Alex Karp's up here. He's like, no, dude, you got to instill confidence. You got to let them know, hey, what we're doing is difficult and not everybody can. And that's why we are one of one. That's essentially the pep rally talk that Alex Karp gives Mr. Market whenever they do earnings, whenever they have earnings calls. He's like, hey, what we're doing is difficult. If it was easy to do, everybody else would do it. And we may not achieve all of these goals, but those are the goals, and we're putting it out there. We're putting it all on the line. Come rock with us. And SoFi's like, no, we're just going to keep sandbagging, and we're just going to keep doing this. We're going to make sure we hit double beat, triple beat, double beat, triple beat. We're just going to keep doing that. But God forbid we know, because we don't know. This is the macros. There's always something. And Mr. Market's never going to reward that. They're not going to like price in a bunch of future growth if you're not willing to fucking put it all on the line. It's my perspective. My opinion could totally be wrong. But I think in short, those are the key differences between Alex Karp and Anthony Noto, Palantir, and SoFi. And that's why Palantir gets what it gets, because the numbers are impressive. I mean, you look at their rule of 40 is like at 155 or something crazy. SoFi's is like half of that. So I mean, just to call it a spade. I mean, these companies aren't even in the same fucking class. I know they're in different sectors and stuff, but it's just Palantir is going hand over fist with very, very high margins. And yes, they're getting rewarded with, what some could argue is a ridiculous valuation, but they're also growing into it very quickly, quarter after quarter. The valuation doesn't seem as crazy. Give them another couple of quarters like this, and you'll be like, man, shoot, why didn't I load up when it went to 107, 110? It's one of those things. Anyway, so what I want to do here is let's just go ahead and put the brokerage on, because I think today is the day where you got to put the brokerage up there. So you got to bear with me. You got to put the brokerage up there because Palantir is running, and the first thing that I go to is the position delta. You see the position delta is at 6,000. Remember when it was at 34,000. So you're going to have to follow the cursor. You're going to have to bear with me. I wish that I could put Palantir in the top, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to isolate. And this is why I stopped showing the brokerage because I wish that I could just isolate and be like, hey, I just want to talk about Palantir right now. I don't know how to do that. I don't know that if I could go this way, if I could just like put Palantir right here. I mean, I've thought about so many different ways to show you guys something to where it's like, okay, it's just all Palantir, but this is just going to like show me the moves that I made. So this is what I did here is I just rolled the call, right? I rolled the call, I had a bunch of negative equity, but at the end of the day, when you own the shares, it doesn't matter. And I didn't roll it out that long, right? So I bought to close the August the 21st. I rolled it out to September the 11th, 9/11, right? Day after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And we all know what happened in 9/11. And I rolled it from 165 to 170. That's all I did. And the net credit was 39,000. So if I'm willing to ride out the duration of the trade, you don't worry about that negative equity because at some point it's going to come out in the wash. It's going to come out in the wash. So now I'm in a position where I'd be like, man, I could sell these shares for $170. And my goodness, be up, well over $1 million just on the shares. That's an option. That is an option. That's an option, right? So let me see if I'm able to do this as well. If I go to the history, I go Palantir, and then we go year to date even. So if I go Palantir, PLTR. So there's Palantir, right? So we got realized gain of 428. We have unrealized gain of 817, and we're up $1.2 million just this year on Palantir. I don't know how to do a filter to give me more because it only offers you year to date, right? So it's like I try to show you all different metrics. And again, this is just maybe I just don't know how to navigate Tasty Trade as well as maybe I should so that it would be more visually appealing, if you will. But this is what we have to work with. But the metric that concerns me the most right now is the position delta. I do not want to go negative on Palantir because then now I feel like you're kind of cheering against the stock. Now, mind you, this thing chills out for a day or two. It stops somewhere here between 150 and 160, 165, and then it chills out for a few days. Then this position delta is going to start creeping back up to the positive again. So I don't want to overcorrect, if you will. I don't want to overcorrect because this is a very sleep easy trade right now. So let's just talk about different components of this particular trade, and this will be a teaching segment. So we're not gonna have to get back on the spreadsheets today. We're just gonna leave it alone. But before we do that, I just want to see what Claude has to say. And then we're gonna get back on here. So let's go back over here with Claude and see what she's saying. See what she has to say for herself. Found it, and it's a real fix, not just a display quibble. The MU band shows which reads that number is open. Okay, so it did fix it. So at least it did it. I just wanted to go find it. Okay, so we're good. So I'll put this. I'll put this on for the group on Premium Junkies and General Chat. But we're not going to go back here today. We're going to stay on the brokerage today. So anyway, we're going to focus on the brokerage. I'm going to go line item by line item, and we're just going to focus on Palantir today because Palantir, she's the belle of the ball right today. And obviously, you guys can see that we're making a shitload of money on Palantir, but I've lost a shitload of money on PayPal. You got to keep let's bring the movies full circle, okay? Because if you're going to talk about your win, you got to talk about your loss. Palantir doesn't happen if I don't push the eject button on PayPal. Because I was like, okay, I can stay in this PayPal trade, but it's going to take 2 years to probably get back to even. Or I could just take my lumps and go try to make that 2 million back with Palantir. And that's exactly what happened since I pushed the eject button on PayPal. So can't really get super excited about Palantir yet in full context, because the only thing that I did so far was get the money that I got my ass kicked on the PayPal trade. And the only thing that was wrong with the PayPal trade was the amount of contracts. It was a sizing issue. It wasn't like selling puts on PayPal at $50. That really didn't prove to be that big of a deal. It totally worked out. But selling 2,000 up to 5,000 contracts at a time, that was just not a good place. So that's on me. That's on me, right? And I've got this, when we hit 20 million, I have a private reconciliation. This is me talking with Claude and finding all the dirt, all the missteps in the account. So when we get to 20 million, that's going to be a reveal for everybody. We got to get to 20 million first, because it's raking me through the coals. I mean, that thing is raking me through the coals. I mean, because if you think you're mean to me and you're harsh to me, nobody is a harsher critic than I am on me. Like, I got me. You worry about you. I got me. I'm mean at me. Like, I don't take it easy on me. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you thinking? What were you thinking? You did X, Y, and Z, boom, you'd already be at $25-30 million, but you got off course. So, dude, I'm fully aware. I'm hyper aware of the things that I could have done different to yield a much different result. But at the same time, I can't stay there. I can't stay in that mindset, because there's no future in the past. But you got to learn from the past, because if not, the past is going to dictate your present, and the present is going to dictate your future. So you got to look back and you got to learn. You got to learn, man, because if not, you're never going to figure out how to earn. Whenever you lose, you learn. Whenever you lose, you learn. That's why they call it Failing Forward. It's a book. It's called Failing Forward. So anyway, enough preaching. Let's get to teaching. Let's do this thing. So what do we got going on with Palantir? We got Palantir. It's acting like a runaway train, right? We keep seeing this. We keep seeing the delta creep and creep and creep and creep. So what's good? Let's talk about what's good, and let's talk about, okay, what's not so good, and what are things that maybe I could have done a little bit differently. Because there was one thing that I strongly considered doing yesterday that I opted not to do. And today I'm like, man, I kind of wish I had done that. So we're going to talk about all of it, and we're just going to stay right here. We're just going to stay right here on Palantir. Again, I apologize. I don't see a way. To just show the Palantir position and forget about all the other shit. Because right now, all the other shit is noise. All of the other shit is noise compared to Palantir today. When you got when you got a position that's up 800,000 and you're up 842,000 for the day. I mean, obviously, you know that the rest of the shit is just noise today. This thing is all about Palantir, and SoFi is pulling its weight as well. And you guys can see there, getting my ass kicked on the calls, and that's okay because these shares are legit for sale right here. So I don't care. I use that money to buy Tesla. I'm good with it. And I'm just going to turn this into a short strangle, and I'm going to play it because that's how I've made most of the money with SoFi anyway. So anyway, back on track with Palantir. So what's good? What's working? I think what's working is obviously owning the shares. That's working, right? You buy the shares for $127.64, and they're currently going for $159. That's working. But now we're going to learn about position deltas because there's a lot of gauges on Tasty Trade, and I can even put more on there for you. If I move more shit over. So there's a lot more that the plane offers, if you will, as far as gauges, but we're just going to try to keep it a little bit simple here to not, inundate you guys. So what is the thing that's troubling that didn't even have to be there? And it's this first line item that I've already closed, the $165 calls. I could have given back 20 grand or so, less than 20 grand. And I could have just closed it out, eliminated those short deltas. I would have gotten closer to 40,000 in deltas. And that line item would have just been off. So instead, what I did is I moved it over to the 170. And so none of this would be there. And we would just have the covered calls at 185, the naked calls, because this is a ladder campaign, right? So we have the naked calls at 200, the naked calls at 230, the naked calls at 300. So right there, those four that are highlighted, we don't even need to talk about them. Why? Good question. Glad you asked. Because I don't think Palantir is going to go to those levels during that amount of time. Will it happen? Yes, eventually I do. But it's also very easy to manage because we're so far out of the money. So this thing is just marking against us, right? It's marking against us. It's got a lot of negative delta, short delta. It's got 6,700, 8,100, negative 5,000, negative 2,000. So what does that mean when it's marking against us? It's like a bad mark, but it doesn't really mean that much in the larger scheme of things. But what it does is it affects your net lick. It affects your overall profitability on that position when you just look at it as like a screenshot, a snapshot, if you will. So it's like the money that we're making over here, it's a drag. It's basically a drag on the account. The money that we're making over here on the 30,000 shares, the money that we're making on the $80 puts, these short calls are like a drag. It's gonna offset on paper what we're really making, because they're like, okay, yeah, you're winning over there, but you're kind of losing over here, even though we could argue that you're not really losing, because it's still needs to climb $11 to breach 170, and then it's covered. This is a covered call right here. This is a covered call, so we don't have to cheer against Palantir. Let's talk about the gimmies and the gotchas. What could I do? How can I manage this particular position going forward if I wanted to stay stubborn and stay the course? What could I do? We are actually in a position to deliver the shares at 170. Mind you, 2,500 of these shares, or 5,000 of these shares are I'm sorry, 2,500 of these shares are unencumbered, right? Because we have an agreement here to deliver 27,500 shares of Palantir at 170 bucks that are bought and paid for. And we have 2,500 shares that are free to run all the way to 185. Just to really understand the context. I'm slowing down, trying to slow down my brain. I'm trying to talk to you guys like y'all tune into class and you're like, holy shit, this is a crazy position. How could you be up $800,000 in a day? All that stuff, right? Okay. We're in a position to deliver the shares at 170. And then the dust is going to settle over the weekend. So this is a Friday. We fast forward live September the 18th, September the 11th. Palantir's trading at 175, call it. We are in a position to deliver the shares at 170. We are in a position to then buy the shares back at 175. On the surface, that doesn't sound like a good deal. And I understand and I appreciate that perspective. But now let's just focus on the math, because the math is the math. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. We are in a position to deliver the shares at 170. And then we are then dust is going to settle. The money's going to be available and accessible that Monday, because the shares will get theoretically called away over the weekend. Stay with me and you'll understand where my brain's at. We buy the shares back. As long as we buy the shares back under 185, we're now covered for that rung, and we are in a position to deliver the shares at 185. As long as we buy the shares back under 200, we're now covered and able to deliver the shares at 200. And then if that happens and Palantir keeps doing Palantir things, we are technically in a position to where we could deliver the shares at 200. And as long as we buy them back before 230, we're covered going into this run. Now, what we're no longer making is all of the capital appreciation dollar for dollar. We're sacrificing that for optionality, right? Just calling a spade a spade. So that is how I could theoretically manage this covered / naked ladder campaign. Or another thing that I could do is just make it easier on myself. How could I make it easier on myself? I could roll from 165 to 170. So now I got $5 more of capital appreciation that I'm qualified for. I don't have to worry about the negative equity that's rolled in, because if Palantir goes this way, all of that's going to come off the clock. All of that money is going to come off the clock, and all of that data is going to make its way over to our Netlick. And what else could I do to make it a little bit easier on myself? It's real simple. I could just start rolling some of these calls out. I could just pick in anyone. It doesn't matter. So I'm not going to go. I don't want to pick another expiration date that we're already in. We don't want to do that. So I'll just go here and I'll delete that leg, and I'll just go find another expiration date, say 199. And what do we have to do? We have to cover $440. So I'm like, okay, what's going to give me? Anything's going to give me over 440. I'm like, okay, let me roll that leg out to 270 and take a lot of pressure off the portfolio. So that is something that I could do. And they will pay us $33,000 for that. And now I only have to deal with the 170s. The 185s, I could kick them down the road. It reduces our buying power a little bit. We get an additional $33,000 in credit. There's going to be some negative equity that's rolled in, but because I'm willing to write out the duration of the contract, that negative equity is pretty fucking irrelevant, just to call a spade a spade. So that's something that we're always going to have at our disposal, because whenever you're running the ladder campaign, the only rung that matters is the one that's about to expire. 1 second, guys. All right, thank you. Okay, I'm on doggy daycare duty, guys. I'm on doggy daycare duty now. So let me see. I feel like there was a question here about, okay, when covered calls are in the money, do you roll up, let them get called away, but have to wait to expiration date, buy more shares and sell the originals and use LIFO for tax reporting? All of those are options, and it's all situational. Kenneth Brown, 2122. It is all situational. It just depends on where we're at with the account and what typically dictates that. And a follow-up question: how much money do we have to work with right now? We're at 1.1. That's our optionality. Because if I exceed that 1.1, now we're tapping into actually using margin. We don't do that on this channel. We sell a lot of shit on margin, but we don't take ownership on margin. That is a different level of irresponsibility that I do not condone nor advocate on this channel. Because unless you have some really, really deep pockets and know-how backing you, it's just a matter of time before you blow up your account. My perspective. I'm not saying this is the gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It is my perspective. If you start going heavy with actual share ownership and margin and getting levered to those levels, it is just a matter of time before you have a couple of 2 or 3 missteps in a row and you blow up your fucking account. You were just playing. You think I'm playing big, you're playing way, way big, because we're not in margin here. We utilize a lot of margin to do a lot of stuff, but we don't own shares on margin. That is just an absolute no-go for me. I'm just not at that level. I like risk, but now we're like, that's just that you're already gambling on top of that. So if you are using margin, I come from a real good place. Stop it. Stop it. Whatever you're doing with margin, bare minimum, cut it in half. And I promise you're going to start sleeping a lot better. Then after that, you just start scaling out of that and just let the portfolio play. It's already playing big, especially if you're in a portfolio margin already. You don't actually need to take ownership of shares on margin. You don't need that kind of leverage. And then it's like 9% interest. Let's say you work out a deal and it's 5 or 6%. It's just not a good deal. It is simply just not a good deal. So anyway, back on Palantir. You see that position delta? We're still positive. So we don't have to cheer against Palantir. And now we're like, okay, we got, 5-6% wiggle room here to work with for the 170s. So we could just theoretically just roll everything out and up, out and up. Like I could roll the 170 to the 185 I could roll the 185 to the 200. I could roll the 200 to the 230, the 230 to the 300, the 300. Probably just keep it at 300. And eventually, these could all be 300s, right? At the end of the day, with different expiration dates. So whenever I start looking at potentially making these moves, because again, I don't want to like overcorrect. What I start looking at is I start looking at the position deltas, and then I start looking at the actual deltas. So what's the delta on the 170? It's 40. So that's pretty strong. That's Mr. Market saying, hey, there's a 40% chance you're gonna have to deliver these shares at 170. But then this is the exercise that I didn't used to do. But this is like the fourth time that I'm in this situation. And by the way, I love being in this situation. This is 10 times better than being in the situation with Palantir being at like $100 a share right now and getting your ass kicked on the 30,000 shares of ownership and getting your ass kicked on the short puts. So what are the levers that I could pull, and in what order? Well, the first thing that I could do is I could just buy some more shares and get some long deltas that way. That's an option. How do we know that's an option? Because we got that 1.1 right there to work with. Now, what makes that difficult is you're like, man, I don't feel like I'm getting like a great deal. And I'm kind of in that camp right now. I didn't even think 127 was a great deal. I thought it was a fair deal. But 159, I'm like, is the market getting ahead of its skis again? I don't want to be the guy that's buying at 159. But then I look at that as an option and a possibility to see how viable it is. And then I ask myself, shit, would I rather manage a bunch of covered calls / naked calls from behind, or would I rather just overpay for some shares in my mind, but knowing damn well that the shares don't expire? And I could just like, okay, well, let me look at it with a different lens, because maybe buying the shares isn't all that bad. Allow me to explain. What if I get in the mindset that I'm like, I'm going to deliver these shares at 170, and now I need to just start buying them back as soon as I can so that I'm covered going into the next run? That's where now it's like, now you look at buying the shares at 159 as a bargain, because it is a bargain as opposed to buying them above $170 per share. Because we already have 2,500 shares that are going to play over here, right? So now it's like we got to figure out how can we buy another 25,000 shares of Palantir. Obviously, we don't have the money to do that. Just take it out my calculator over here. Cleaning lady was just here, so she stacks everything for me. So 25,000 shares times, call it 159. Okay, that's $4 million, 3.975. So we don't have the money to do that. How do we know? Because you see it right there, right? You see it right there. But I wanted to stay on this page a little bit more because I want to direct your action. I want to direct your mind, your eyesight over to the position delta. That position delta is at $4,747 right now. It's been fluctuating, guys. And when we started, it was like 15,000 this morning. It's gone down. This is around the lowest that it's been. But if Palantir comes back down to like 155, you look, you just saw it right now. As we're talking, it just jumped to 5,900. So sometimes you just got to let time do its thing. You could just let time do its thing. So what's another lever that I could pull? Because we've already had some IB crush, and I want more long deltas so I can neutralize. Another thing that I could consider doing is I could consider buying some leaps. That is another thing that I can consider doing, is I could consider buying some leaps, because that would allow me to stay in the fire a little bit longer. I'm like, dude, I don't think it's gonna get to 170. I think the Bears will have something to say. Who knows? Their valuation might start coming into to play game. Okay, so Palantir, okay, always a little suppressed. I mean, whatever they're going to be saying on all these financial networks, whatever, right? So at some point, once this is again where you got to do your homework, right? Because what is my fair value? What's my intrinsic value right now on Palantir after yesterday? Went back and forth with Claude for an hour and a half, and with mostly her help, but me having an idea because I've been following this company from day one because I bought in on literally day one, the DPO. It's $150. That is our fair market value on Palantir right now. After everything we heard yesterday, $150, and we feel like it should hold that level for a couple of quarters, and then it deserves to go to the next level up on the run, which would be probably 175, maybe even 200. But if it climbs faster, which most likely it will, because I'm usually wrong when it comes to these types of things. That's why I don't like to make predictions. I like to just take a position. I don't think it's going to hold it. I don't think it's going to hold it because at some point we're always going to be in this type of market. Valuations matter. And as amazing as the Palantir earnings are, you can't just be like, oh, it was trading at 220 for that hot minute and settled at 208 for the day or whatever, and then it came back down. It deserves to go back to those levels. I'm like, no, we're going to need another 2 quarters for it to deserve those levels, in my opinion. And again, I'm very conservative also when it comes to valuation. And now I'm looking at my position delta just climbed to 6,800. So I think right now the best thing that I could do is nothing. What is a lever that I'm more inclined and willing to pull? Not buying leaps because leaps expire. Leaps cost premium. I am a premium collector. I do not like doing that. So what is the other thing that I would much rather do? I would much rather lock in a win on these short puts. Minimize the contracts. So I could probably close out 250 of these, and then I could roll these puts from 80 to 100. Or I could just gamble, and again, this is a little bit of a gamble, is I could just say, no, I'm going to leave the amount of contracts right where it is, and I'm going to roll from 80 to 100. It's going to take probably $200,000 or $400,000 in buying power, but that will neutralize my deltas. So let's go look at that because the delta here is 9. And we're looking at the position delta, right? It's 8,900. So we're trying to offset. Forget about the 30,000 shares for a second. You can forget about 27,500 of those for a second, but you still have 2,500 that's not accounted for, right? So you have what's helping this position here. The 8,900 is helping, and the 2,500, it's 27.5, is that right? 37, 20, 20. Yeah, man, help me out with some math. There's like 2,250 shares that are unencumbered, right? So we have 2,250 deltas plus the 8,900 deltas. Let's just call it 11,000 in deltas. Let's call it 11,000 in deltas. And we're trying to offset 10,000, 16,000, 23, 24, about 30,000 in deltas, right? It's kind of crazy. So how could we do that? So the other thing that we could do is we could roll strikes up. And this is the most comfortable move because, again, I'm a net premium collector. I don't like to pay premium. And the buying power effect isn't as severe. I'm pleasantly surprised right now. And that's going to take me to a delta of 15. You see how I'm going to go from a delta of negative 0.09 to a delta of negative 0.15. So we're going to have more net long deltas by making this particular move. But we're also taking on more risk because the notional risk is going to go from $8 million to $10 million. And that's why they're hence wanting an additional $210,000 in buying power. But you got to understand the dynamics. What's dynamic versus what is static? Deltas are dynamic. Buying power is also dynamic. Buying power is not static unless you own the shares. You own the shares, and whatever buying power they required. And even that could be dynamic as well, because the the uh the brokerage always reserves the right to change buying power requirements, and they'll give you all of these reasons as to why they need to do that, etc. So what would that look like? That's interesting, right? So we can go from 80 to 100, because I'm like, I don't think Palantir is going to go to $100. So I don't think they're going to miss. Then they're going to finish the year at like 85, 90% CAGR. Freaking amazing. And we could get paid $500,000 today for rolling up from 80 to 100. And why is that $500,000 important? A couple of reasons. One is going to go into the cash pile. So that would take us to like 1.6. We can use those monies to shore up other positions. And quietly, Micron's doing its thing. Yay, Micron. I wonder why MSTRs, that seems off. You see, it shouldn't be up 80. It shouldn't be up 91 cents on the day and then be down over here. This is again why I don't like showing the brokerage, because sometimes I'm like, I get stuck. Like, I'm like, that shit doesn't make sense. I keep refreshing it. Like, the option's saying jacked right now. Like that's fucking stupid. So anyway, those are the moves that I can make. And then I see a comment here that it's a bank and you can't, SoFi can't miss and all that stuff. I get it. I get it. But at some point, Mr. Market has figured out that SoFi sandbags. So they feel like you're sandbagging. Are they really going to give you a lot of credit for knocking it out of the park? I don't know. You guys can decide that. So let's look at SoFi. What do we got going on here with SoFi? We're going to go back to Palantir here in a second. I'm just letting it settle down to see where the deltas end up. Right now, we're at 6,700s. I feel pretty good about it. So, Palantir goes back down to like 155 or so. I think I'm going to have to do anything. I could kind of meet in the middle and go from 80 to 90. But I'm just like, you're either going to go to 100 or you're not going to go to 100. I don't know how to do little surveys here. If this was your Palantir position, let me give you all an opportunity to play TJ the Wheel Deal. If this was your position and you're up, cool, 800,000 on the day, year to date 1.2. We made like 2.5 on Palantir since we moved over from Tasty Trade, or from Robinhood to Tasty Trade, and we had already made about $1.5 million on Robinhood. I mean, Palantir has kept this in the game. Like, it truly has kept it. Palantir and SoFi is the only reason I haven't blown up the account, because everything that I tried on the others didn't work. I got away with it because Palantir and SoFi have made us so much money, and we still got a way to climb. You can see there the year to date. Remember, we're at like 7.5 negative. Now we're climbing. We get SoFi to get over that $20 range. That's going to really help the bottom line. MSTR catches a bid with 25,000 shares. That's going to help the bottom line. End phase is too small to really do anything. I need to get, a lot more shares of end phase to really move the needle. TSL is not going to move the needle at 8,500 shares. SpaceX at 4,000 shares probably really can't move the needle either. I just don't want to be losing money on it. So I'm really excited about the price action here on SpaceX. Micron's a needle mover. We can get back to even on Micron. That's 1.3 that we wipe out. I mean, that's something that could legitimately happen. Hell, we could be positive $1 or $2 million by the end of the year on Micron if we just stay the course. So there's levers that we can pull there to potentially get back to good by the end of the year. But if this was your position, we got 39 people watching on YouTube. We've got a lot of people tuning in on X. What move would you make? What move would you make on Palantir? The first move is nothing. That's an option. The first option is just nothing. Just kind of let it play out. The other option would be to buy more shares. Another option would be to buy leaps. The other option would be to roll up the calls or to roll up the puts. The other option is be like, I'm just going to roll out the calls. I'm going to I'm going to roll the 170 to 180, 185. I'm going to roll the 185 to 200 and just keep kicking the can down the road. And I'm just going to do it early, throw all that negative equity out there. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, at some point, it's all going to come out in the wash. So where are you at? What do you think that you would do in that situation? I'm already showing y'all what I'm going to do. There's only two options for me. All this roly, holy roly, not going to happen. Not going to happen. That option is not even on the table for me. I've already made the roll that I'll consider making, and that's the 165 to the 170s. Give me another $5 in capital appreciation on 27,500 shares. It's an extra 125, 30 grand. I'll take it. And at that point, I'm like, I could deliver and buy them again. That's kind of the camp that I'm in. The second thing that I would consider doing just to try it on for size would be to buy some more shares on Palantir just to see what it feels like. So I'm going to throw that out there. Just going to throw it out there. 500 shares right now, just to see what it does to the buying power, because it's 500 deltas. 500 deltas. 500 shares equals 500 deltas. See how much money that actually costs, and then just see what it feels like. Like what kind of emotion is it going to evoke? You know, what is it going to stir up in me? So I'm like, dude, it's not too bad, right? You pay 79 grand. And shares don't expire. It's not really going to do much to the average, but now you're covered for an additional 500 shares for that $185 range. And I could just, kind of like do that over and over. So what's the max that we could afford to buy? So let's just, I don't know, let's go 1,500. Let's go 2,000 shares. Could we afford 2,000 shares? What does that do to the buying power? It's 47,000. That wipes out a third of our cash, right? Or a fourth of our cash. That's an option as well. I mean, could we go 2,500 shares? It's about the same, but now we're wiping out legitimately a third of our cash. It's tough. That's an option. But the reason I like that option a lot is because, again, the shares don't expire. Like, that's an option. The other option is kind of a two-headed option. It's like almost like a simultaneous option, if you will. I hope y'all can appreciate me walking y'all through this stuff. Who else takes the time to do this kind of shit with you guys? Nobody. Why? Because they don't know how to do it, because that's not what they do. It's not what they do. Their job is to just talk about stocks all day. It's what they do. I'm actually doing this shit for a living. It's what I do. This is the only thing that we do to make money. So I'm trying to give you guys all of the insights into my mind and how I approach these positions so that you guys can understand that it is more of an art form versus a science. Because there's not a one size fits all, man. It's like some of y'all write these hard, fast rules, and it's like, oh, you're real rigid. My gift is that I'm malleable. I'm very malleable, guys. You got to be flexible in this business. You have to be very, very supple, very flexible, very loose in this business, because you do not get to dictate to Mr. Market. So anyway, so here's one comment. Let me go through some of these comments. I'm going to get off the screen here for a second so I can read some of the comments. We'll go from there. So where are we at? Unk spicy lately. Morning, early today. Mr. Rimshaker, good morning. Glad to catch the stream finally. What's going on, Manish? I need you to help me create a book like this for myself anytime. Do a tutorial unless I missed it. It's real simple, man. It's real simple. If you're in the group, you just copy and paste the PDF, send it over to your Claude, send it over your CSV, and be like, this is the format. Make me a book that's relevant and pertinent to our account. That's straight. That's what I already do that for the members all the time. I don't know if they actually copy and paste and make it that easy, or they're sitting there giving a bunch of prompts and commands to Claude. I've already done the work for you. I've already trained my little robot, and whenever she screws up, I reprimand her a little bit, spank her in the ass a little bit, and she gets it together, right? We always remember our losses more than our gains. Of course, it's always on to the next one. Yeah, I don't know that I remember my losses more, but I try to learn more from my losses, because whenever you make money, it doesn't Like, what did you learn? It worked out. It's like sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But when it doesn't and it doesn't work out in a real big way, you're like, okay, we don't want to go there again. So what do we really learn from it? But I don't dwell on the losses. I'm like, I get more excited about Palantir than PayPal all the time. When covered calls are in the money, do you have roll? Okay, we did this one already. What's going on, Tenzi? What's going on, Tenzi? Appreciate you. Add your and you gain 2.2K deltas. I don't know in what context that is too. How's everybody doing? Hey, what's going on, Will? I know, crazy, right? Crazy. Can't imagine a portfolio without hedges. Sure, limited upside, but good sleep. Yes, need to keep avoiding strategy at least a million. Volume is huge. It's definitely institutional. Yeah, dude, retail can't move the needle like this. You could always buy some leaves for positive delta. Yeah, definitely. Dude, I'm not buff anymore. When I was younger, bro, I wanted to be a Chippendale. I wanted to be a Chippendale. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, truthfully, it just feels like an excuse. It feels like an excuse. Let me some Anthony Noto. He's way too fucking conservative. He's way too fucking conservative. Um, Yo, Matty Mula went Lambo. I'll start covering if it goes above 165. Bring the puts to at least 90, 95. We don't need to send a dividend as director to connect with Claude. It is awesome though. It struggles to read the live deltas Vegas. Yeah, I would not want artificial intelligence connected to my brokerage. That's just me. That's just me. I'm just not. I'm just. I want to be able to control the access that my brokerage would have with artificial intelligence because man, this shit has just gotten out of hand. A lot of trust was breached for me when those cold wallets or whatever you call them, cold storage wallets from Bitcoin got hacked. I mean, if that shit ain't safe, dude, there's nothing safe out there with this shit. This is gotten out of control. It's gotten out of control. Anyway, I've digressed. Let's go this way. Let's go. Oh, let's see what the robot has to say. Let's see what the robot has to say. Defend yourself. Here we go. Found it. So now let's go through the book walkthrough. We'll go this way. We'll go this way. So this is the book walkthrough. Oh, that's the position walkthrough. So I wonder if it just fixed it. Micron. Yeah, it's still giving us that. Yeah, it's not. It's not. No bueno. No bueno. Claude reminds me of the last time I drove my car in FSD. Got an update from Tesla a few days ago. And it's like we're in the lane and it's like there's an exit coming up. The maps like just literally just said, hey, in 2.4 miles, you're gonna take exit, whatever, going towards Edinburgh. And then it goes on the other lane like it's gonna exit now. And then it's like struggling and there's cars coming, and then it makes its way back, and it did that like 3 times. So it's just like an ugly bug with Tesla FSD. And my wife's usually just playing on her phone while we're going to the restaurant or whatever. And then even she lifts her head up, looks at me, and she's like, this FSD is just really fucking up tonight, huh? And I'm like, yeah, baby, this latest update's a fucking shit show. Let's just see if it can get us to the restaurant without me having to intervene. So it's just one of those things. So Claude's a little bit buggy. So afterwards, I'm gonna have some conversations with her and make sure that she updates everything versus because it's not about expediency for me, it's about precision. Right. So I'm like, take your fucking time, give me the information that I need. So anyway, let's just look at the portfolio one last time to see if there is a move that I'm willing to make. The only one that really sticks out is just rolling up the puts. That one's gonna hurt me. That's gonna hurt me if Palantir comes down. Um, That's the only, but is it going to really hurt that much? That's where there's so many gimmies and gotchas. Because I'm not worried about the net lick. I'm not worried about what it marks against me. That shit doesn't bother me. What I'm just looking at the actual function of it long term. Rolling up these puts is going to give me more deltas to stay in these calls longer because these are just marking against me. But I mean, I think we can all agree the 185s, 200s, 230s, or let's just forget about those. Maybe we're not going to agree over here. But I think over here we can agree that the 230s and 300s is a fucking nothing burger. But it's still marking against us to the tune of right now 7,500. What is that? 8,000. What is that? 55, 65, 75, 8,000 deltas negative, right? No bueno. So for every dollar that Palantir goes up, that's marking against us $8,000. Just to put it in context. So just looking for a little bit of delta neutrality. I don't know if this move's going to hold though. I don't know if this move's going to hold. But then you're also like locking in a bit of a win here. If you roll up, you're locking in a win here, and then you start fresh. So that's an option because we locked in a loss over here, rolling from the 165s to the 170. So I could like offset that loss with the win here, and then the taxes are kind of like a moot point, if you will. Let me see what that feels like. Let me cue it up and let me just see what it feels like. Roll strikes up. Would I roll to just 90? I feel like that just doesn't do anything. How much money is that? 225. How much money do we have? See, when I make a move with premium, I always want to know what am I going to do with that money? Because I have something that I kind of want to do with that money. And right now, I really like where the buying power usage is as well, right? So this is going to like start compromising the things that I've been working so hard to get back in our favor. So 1.1117668 plus ooh, let's do this. Let's do this. Where's our little robot? Let's see. We get some suggestions from our little robot here. So I rolled the Palantir covered call from 165 to 170. Position delta is now at about 5,000 positive. Let's ponder some moves to maintain long delta exposure. I could roll up the puts. I can buy leaps. I can buy shares. And I can start rolling the short calls to lower the deltas. The short deltas that way. So let's see what it says. That number is a whole conversation. Let me put it in context. Here's the thing where it's spitballing. Let's go this way here. This will be a good exercise for you guys, I think. And we'll end it here because I don't think I'm going to end up making a move. I just don't think it's necessary. Not yet. Okay, here we go. The numbers whole conversation, let me put it in context. Here's the thing we're spitballing. At 5,000 net deltas, you're participating in 17% of your own 30,000 share position. Every dollar Palantir moves from here makes you 5,000, not 30. The latter plus backstops are offsetting 25,000 shares of long exposure. And note the mechanical point. Rolling 165 to 170 should have raised net delta because a higher strike carries less short delta. So the drop from 15,000 isn't the roll, it's the price running and every run gaining delta underneath you. Those are facts. The tension I'd want to talk through. Your own doctrine said, let the horses run when the thesis fires. The thesis just fired about as hard as it can. Revenue accelerated to 93% when the street modeled a slowdown to 80%. Guidance raised 498 million. 12 straight quarter of acceleration. That's not a beat. That's the growth curve bending upward at 151. And the structure responded by capping you at 70% participation. So which name is Palantir now? SoFi class, complete, income only, roll, don't deliver forever, and the cap is the point. Or MSTR class, complete-ish, but you want the shares to run to the 2032 target. The North Star says Palantir by 500 by 2032. From 151, that's a 231% move. A ladder topping out at 300 doesn't survive that. Every run gets delivered and rolled at escalating costs along the way. 3 ways to play it roughly. Leave it. Collect $12,000 of data per day. Roll runs up as they approach. Accept 17% participation. The premium engine is the thesis. Buy back the top rungs. The January 300 call is only 47,000 of extrinsic and a 7 delta. Cheap to close, but it barely moves delta. That rung that actually caps, the rungs that actually cap you are the August, the 170, and the 200s. Buying those back costs real money and gives up real premium. Roll the whole ladder up hard, 170 to 200. This is kind of what I talked about. Cost a debit, restores delta, keeps your short something middle path. What's Palantir trading at now? Man, it's a lot. Okay, hold on. I received about 35K, I believe, on the roll. Palantir is at 158-ish at the moment. A leap gives you 75 deltas and nothing to write calls on, sells against it, and you've built the diagonal, which is a Palantir structure, the last part of the compounding piece. What's up, buddy? Hey, so what I'm gonna do, guys, is bear with me. I'm gonna get out of this here for a second because I'm gonna have to erase privacy mode. So I'm gonna be talking to Claude on the background real quick. Hold on, stop screen. Because I have to pull up the brokerage and I got to screenshot some stuff. Hold on one second. Bear with me. I'm gonna be doing something in the background. I'm gonna send it to CSV. Transactions. Mm. One second. So you can have all the context. Files. Where's my CSV? There we go. 1029. Okay, there we go. So now it's going to do its thing. So now we'll go here, add to the stage, present. Okay. No, that's not it. This one. Here we go. So now it's giving me all that good stuff. That's work. You bought time and distance, got paid for it. The extra 21 days is worth more than the 5 points. It takes the expiry past the immediate momentum window. One honest line for the ledger. The closed rung realized that's a fact. But the new rung brought in, so the campaign is well ahead. That's the toll, not wound framing you named yesterday. You paid it out of a position that's up 900,000 where it stands at 158, September the 18th, 7.6 away with 38 days. Still inside the proximity rule, but the clock pressure is off. This isn't a 17-day problem anymore. That changes my read from an hour ago. With 38 days, you have room to let it breathe rather than roll again into strength. The proximity rule fires on price, but 38 days to expiration gives you optionality. The 17-day version didn't. The Delta question is still open, though. Rolling up 5 points on the front run recovered maybe 800-ish share equivalents against a 24,000 negative cap. If restoring long Delta is genuinely the goal, the lever isn't the one. Shares are. Send me an updated header when you get a chance, and I'll remark the whole book. The September the 11th rung needs to go into before tomorrow's built anyway. So it sounds like Claude's suggesting, obviously, I mean, obviously more than Delta's. The highest Delta is always going to be the actual share count. Anyway, give me a thumbs up if you guys appreciate this kind of walkthrough, because it's almost like we're in class, right? We're in class, and the professor's in a bit of a bind, and I'm like walking y'all through a real life example of how to navigate. That's kind of like the idea here, anyway, in my mind. Let me know if that's the way it works for you guys, or do y'all just like the stuff that's just prepackaged, like a canned spiel, if you will. This is like real life shit. It's what I do. It's what I do. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is the thing that I least want to do, and that's buy shares. The thing that I least like to do is buy shares here. That's the thing that I feel like doing the least, but it's just a muscle thing. It's a muscle thing. So I'm going to start small. I'm just going to do that just to put it out there, just to put it out there. Because I mean, I feel like one day I'm going to be buying shares at 300. You know what I mean? Because I ultimately think this thing is going to a trillion in market cap, maybe even 2 trillion. So I mean, and are we really going to end at just 30,000 shares? No, I'm thinking that maybe 35, 40,000 shares eventually. So this is the thing that I'm going to do right now. So there's that. So now we're going to go look at that delta, see what it did. And you can see that, well, we should have looked at it before I made it, right? But we just added 500 delta. So we were at 53. Now we're at 58. So there's that. And what did it do to the average? It increased us a little bit. It increased us a little bit. Where's the cash? I still want to make sure that I'm over 1,000,000. That's the thing. So we're at 1,038. So there's that. There's that. I don't think there's anything else that I truly want to do right now with the Palantir trade, guys. Let's go look at other stuff in the book. Make sure there's nothing. This doesn't even make sense to me. That doesn't even make sense to me. So I'm not going to do anything there. These shares are like kind of like legitimately for sale at 110. The more and more I look into MicroStrategy, man, like I feel like it's like the redheaded stepchild right now. I don't know. It's like it's all about STRC and MicroStrategies, or strategies just become like the piggy bank that Sailor's using. It's the lever that he's pulling on to make sure that this new kid, STRC, is like the newborn, and it's the one getting all the attention. And MSTR is kind of like the older kid, and they're like, "Hey, go entertain yourself, go play with yourself," you know, like that kind of thing. Because the parents got their handful with the newborn. That's kind of how I feel like is going on with strategy right now at the moment. So there's that. Now that I've done this, I actually feel quite okay with it. That was good. That was a good exercise for me. So I'm going to buy 500 more shares. That was a good exercise for me. There we go. I just want to make sure the average stays under 130. And we're still there. So we're good. And this is the issue now because we're under a million, right? Yeah, we're at 959. So that's kind of a little bit of a problem. Those are the gimmies and gotchas. And you can see that the delta has climbed substantially. So we're good there. I think that's all I want to do with Palantir right now. I was like, let me just pretend like I'm going to be okay having these shares called away at 170 because that was the whole purpose of the ladder when I drew it up on that whiteboard over there. That was the whole purpose of it. It was like I could cover, deliver, rebuy in a position to cover again. So we just started covering. What we're doing right now is we're just trying to cover the $185 rung because the 170 is covered by the shares that we already own. We're going to ultimately get all of that money back. And then we can deliver the shares again at 185 and so on and so forth. So I'm going to stay with that idea. Obviously, we've already proven that we don't have the money to just cover the entire run right now. We get that. What I could do to get more monies is I could roll the 80s to 100 because that's going to give us, $500,000. I'm not going to do that right now though. But that is another like strong consideration is we're not going to screw around with 90, 95. We're going to go straight to 100 and that would give us, $500,000. That is a strong consideration because that gives us a firepower because that's one thing that really makes a lot of sense in my mind. It's like get $500,000 rolling up and then you use that money to buy the shares and now you're a lot closer to being covered for the next run. And then at that point, you're like legit cheering for Palantir. But this is where it's a double-edged sword when you add deltas like that. So you buy the shares and then you roll the puts up and it all looks great because now you're achieving that delta. You're participating more to the upside. Well, you're also going to participate more to the downside, just to call a spade, right? You're going to participate more to the downside. So that's enough with Palantir. So what did we do? We added 1,000 shares, bought into the strength. Feels good because shares don't expire. Could have gotten a lot more deltas buying leaps and all that stuff, but it's just the time to buy leaps was when Palantir was at 110. That was really the time to buy leaps. Right now, I just don't think it's the time to buy leaps. So let's look at that. This doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. This thing should be printing. Not printing, but it should be up. It shouldn't be down today. So that's just annoying, but it is what it is. I'm not worried about the 110s. I'm not going to take them off. 4,000 is 4,000. I'm not going to give it back to you, Mr. Market. And then these shares I feel like they're legitimately for sale at 110. So I'm good there. Enphase is kind of doing its thing. So now we're actually up on the actual shares. That part's really, really good. And we got the shares for sale at $42. Zero emotional attachment. Now notice how it's different on Enphase. And we have negative deltas right now on Enphase. Why is it different on Enphase versus Palantir? This is a real good teaching segment right here, guys. I hope y'all strapped in today, man. Y'all are getting some good shit here today. Whether y'all realize it or not, I know there's only 53 people watching because we don't have a big audience. Why? Because there's not a lot of people trying to make big money on the stock market. There's a lot of people that are just fucking bored at home and they want to be entertained and they just want to watch stock shit all day. That's not what we do on this channel. The people here, a lot of y'all do this for a living or aspire to do it for a living. Big difference, man. This isn't for entertainment purposes only. This is just watching me work effectively. That's what I do. So why is Enphase not stressing me out when I have short deltas on Enphase versus I'm still have long deltas on Palantir? It's a real good question. Glad you asked. It's because of the sizing, Claire. I can just buy these fucking shares again. Okay, I'll deliver them to you at 42. I'll buy them again. I could deliver them to you again at 45, and I'll buy them again, and I could deliver them again to you at 50. Or I could just roll up the entire thing. I go from 42 to 45, 45 to 50, 50 to 55, and just keep the party going. That's where sizing is so important because you could just be very, very nonchalant and you have a lot more options to stay in the fire, if that makes sense. So there's that. TSOL, 8,500 shares. We have the shares for sale at $8. So we're like right there, and we're so freaking indifferent about it. We're up. Are we down on the shares themselves or no? Where are we at on the actual shares? It says we're about even on the shares because we own them at 794. I feel like is that even accurate? I guess so. So we own the shares at 794 and we got the shares for sale at $8. Why am I being so aggressive with these calls, with these covered calls on TSOL? It's because of that capital requirement right there. I do not like that 67,000. It's literally 1-for-1. That's how much we own. That's what we pay for the shares, and they're jamming us for the 67,000. So I don't like it. I don't like it. So that line item is not going to be on the book. I would like for the shares to get called away, because that's going to give me that buying power that we just got back for buying the 1,000 shares of Palantir today. So keep that in mind. SpaceX, this one's fun too. We got the 4,000 shares. We're getting our ass kicked on the shares, right? We're down 51,000 on the shares, but we brought in some nice money in premiums for doing the latter, right? So we've got quite a bit of extrinsic value there. So SpaceX goes and approaches 150, that's good news, because then we're like net positive on that particular position. What do I think should happen with SpaceX? I think SpaceX should probably go to that $80, $90 range. That's what I think should happen. What will happen? I don't know, man. I don't know. I I I mean, they have earnings today. Everybody's going to be excited because I think a lot of people, myself included, this is the first time where we're really going to know what this company is and what it does. Because I bought into this shit just because of Elon. I bought into this shit because of a potential merger with Tesla. And I'm like, okay, well, let me build the Tesla position. Let me build the SpaceX position. And boom, ultimately, it'll be one position. And I think together, both of those companies are going to go, they'll just be one company at that point. I think they're going to go conquer the world, and they'll be the largest company in history. That's my bet on it. Effectively, massive execution risk, massive key man risk. Something happens to Elon, all this shit's in the fucking toilet. That's just the reality of it. So we're not doing anything there. We're good. And again, the sizing, it's like, it's whatever. Okay, we can just buy the shares again. It's like so easy to cover the next rung because it's not a huge amount of money compared to what we have. Micron, this is the one that is the most exciting position for me right now. We're down on the shares, right? Because we have 3,800 shares at 961. We've got the shares. We're agreeing to buy more shares at 700. And this thing's free to run. We've got not a whole lot of positive deltas. We have 1,200 deltas. But we don't have to deliver any shares until 1,200. So that's a lot of upside participation. And then we'd have to theoretically deliver the shares again at 1,300. Again, theoretically deliver the shares at 1,500 twice over, and then 1,600. And then our crown jewel trade is at 2,500. This is when we would like to, provided we were able to manage everything along the way, that's where we would actually love to just be able to be done, deliver the shares. We're out of Micron. We think that it can go on one massive run to 2,500. And I think at that point, they're going to all fight about cyclicality and all this other shit. It is what it is, right? Back on Palantir, I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about. Palantir, we bought shares, right? And we're waiting it out. We bought some shares, we're waiting it out. And we really can't afford to buy too many more. We can maybe buy like another 2,000 shares at the most, maybe 2,500. And it is what it is. We have to take our medication. We got to either start rolling or, because closing, how much is it? Well, I mean, I guess theoretically I could close two. I could like close one of these. That's another option we didn't talk about. I just be like, okay, well, that sucks, but I could just like close this out and be done, right? Or I don't want to close that one out. Fuck that. I could like close this out and be done, right? Here's 116. Is that how much it would be? Yeah, so there's 118,000 bucks, and that removes all those deltas. And we're done. Simple as that. You lose $95,000 on the cause, not the first time, not the last time. And that's going to remove 6,900 deltas. So that would get us back to that $12,000, $13,000 range. So now we're participating about 40% of the upside move at the moment. And again, this is you're just trying to control the mark, right? You're just trying to control what the grade says. But if you look at this objectively, you're like, okay, well, it's still under 170. It's still under 180. If it's under 170, it's going to be under 185 and all of these others as well. And it's still comfortably above 80. So there's not a whole lot else that we need to do there. I want to really see if the move holds. Let's see what it does tomorrow. Let's see what it does the day after that before I strongly consider rolling up these short puts. Because the other thing that I'm monitoring at that point is the buying power. And Tesla is the one that I wanted to add more shares to, but now I don't want to at this level. So yeah, I'm trying to get 2,500. So we're like so close, man. I'm always not that close, right? It's fucking 324,000, but it feels close compared to the other stuff that we've already built. But I wanted to just be done with this. I wanted to be done with it because what's the goal on SpaceX? We're trying to get to 10,000. So that takes, quite a bit of money. And here it's 324,000 and we'd be done with it. It would have been real cool if I could have got him at like 300 or something like that. But just the money wasn't there. BM&R, it's just kind of doing its thing. We're just getting absolutely annihilated on BM&R. We need this thing to catch a bid. I feel like there's not a bid to be caught unless the Clarity Act passes. And we didn't have the Clarity Act in any of the previous cycles, but now all of a sudden it seems like all of our hopes and dreams hinge on the Clarity Act, which is kind of disconcerting if you think about it, because it's like, it was about decentralized finance, right? You don't want the government to intervene. And now it's like we're begging the government to intervene. So I'm like, I just feel like the crypto bros are talking out of like both sides of their mouth at this point. SoFi, we got the shares for sale at 20. We've got the calls. So the one thing I know, again, it's not an opportune time, but this is just where I want to be, is I wanted to turn this one into a strangle. I wanted to turn this one into a strangle so that I'm in a position to let the shares go. Yesterday I was paying $105, so it's not that big of a deal. So that's the move. That's the move right there. So now I have a strangle on SoFi, provided this fills. And that's why I needed the buying power. So I pick up $250,000 there. That's going to help in case if I need to buy more shares on Pltr or something like that. And then now it's like, okay, I could effectively deliver the shares of SoFi at $20 in a couple months. When does the other one expire? And 72 days right before the earnings. So if I keeps running up, I deliver the shares at $20. I'm like, I don't want to own shares anymore because Anthony Noto never sent me a cap and a hoodie. No, I'm just kidding. The reason I would consider not owning shares anymore is because the premiums just aren't good enough. I'd rather have 6,000 shares of Micron. I'm making a lot more money in premium. So I'd rather get to 40,000 or 50,000 shares of Palantir. There's just a lot more money to be made with the premiums. And if SoFi is not willing to like really freaking go for it and galvanize the troops because they want to play the conservative, I'm like, okay, cool, but you can do that without me. I'll just sell puts and calls and do a strangle if you want to stay in that range. I'm like, okay, cool. You paid me $170,000 for selling the call. You can pay me another $250,000 to sell the put, and I'll just manage it that way. And if I ever get assigned the shares, I get a better deal at 15 than we had at 1856. And we just kind of like play that game as well. So that is something that I definitely wanted to get done. So let me get it right here. You got to pay me my price because we're taking on a lot of risk. So there's that. And that's what we do on the channel. We sell puts and calls and collect premium, roll when it makes dollars and cents. We don't just put out, put a little fucking chart out there. Let's just look at the chart all day. It's not what we do. It's not what we do. Anyway, so now we're good. So now I got a lot more deltas, right? Y'all saw the delta was like at 83,000. Now we're back to 138,000. So what does that mean? For every dollar that SoFi goes up, now we're participating $138,000 to the upside. The flip side of the coin Now we're getting our ass kicked a lot more. SoFi goes down. Those are the gimmies and the gotchas, man. The buying power usage is still pretty under control at 46%. I feel real good about this trade. Now I don't have to look at that covered call. I'm going to take the fucking shares if you want them. I'll gladly deliver them to you because that's going to free up quite a bit of money, right? It's going to be 25. It's going to be 250,000 shares times 20 bucks, $5 million. We would now have $5 million that would go into that cash balance. Now we get in a situation with Pltr down the road. Guess what I'm able to do now? I can just buy the fucking shares again and then do LIFO, have a lot of tax advantages and all this other stuff. So it just gives me options. It just gives me options. So again, SoFi wants to continue to be in the portfolio, behoove you to send me the fucking cap and hoodie. But seriously, what would really help is if y'all fucking went for it. You reach down, you grab the fucking pair, and you're like, hey, we're going for it. We're going to actually put out an earnings guidance that's tough to get, and we're going to go fucking get it. And that would really galvanize the troops. And on top of that, what you also could do is go get some fucking customers for that tech platform. You spent billions of dollars on that shit. Yeah, it's awesome that you're able to do a bunch of stuff in-house, and it's real great. But go get customers, be the AWS of fintech, because that's the shit that we all bought initially. Let's not act like that didn't happen. That did happen. That's what he told us was the whole mission. You're going to be the AWS of fintech. We'll go fucking do it. Go do it. We're here for it. So anyway, so that's all of it, man. I don't think there's anything else to do. I feel real good about our cash pile here. We're more than we were earlier. So let's just go and let's go over the moves. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of moves now. I hate the way it displays it because it gives you every little line item. So what did we do? We'll just finish with this. We rolled the calls on Palantir. We're like, okay, we want to participate more to the upside. We had a change of heart. We don't want to sell the shares at 165. We'll sell them to you at 170, Mr. Market. And we got paid $39,000 for that. And then on top of that, we bought an additional 1,000 shares of Palantir at these levels at 158.70, 158.49. So we bought that. And then we sold 2,500 puts on SoFi, and y'all saw the haul that we got for that. So effectively, we used the roll from the Palantir covered calls, and we used the short put monies to buy the 1,000 shares of Palantir, and we still have net cash more in the account of $123,377.15. That was all of it in a nutshell. And Micron's acting right. We've picked up $250,000 on Micron today on the share because we're getting our ass kicked on the shares, right? So that part's going good. And then we've been getting our ass kicked on SoFi, and now we're approaching break even on the actual shares. So I'm not in a situation where I'm cheering against SoFi. I'm not in a situation where I'm cheering against Micron. I'm not in a position where I'm cheering against Palantir. I'm not in a situation where I'm cheering against Tesla. And I'm definitely not in a position where I'm cheering against TSLL or SpaceX or any of these on here. This is net bullish. This is net bullish across the board. If you look at it collectively, it's 32,000 deltas. It's a average beta weighted average towards the SPY. So for every dollar that the SPY goes up, we're participating $32,000 collectively in the portfolio, and then we have $62,000 in theta. So for every day everything stays flat, we're bringing in $62,000. Can you show the PNR numbers? Yeah. So we go over here. That's what he's asking here too. PNR. So this is it's where you look at your capital risk and where you're at. Like, oh my God, like what can happen, and we're gonna be in trouble. Oh my God, right? So what you're looking for here is a bunch of hundreds. So we've got BMNR. PNR stands for the point of no return. So BMNR's got a long way to run before we get in any kind of margin call situation. And phase, long way to run before we get in any margin call situation. MSTR, long way to run before we get into a margin call situation. A negative 85% is a drawdown. So Micron would have to dip a lot. Palantir would have to dip a lot. So you could just like ask Claude, but Angel knows just looking at that because he's familiar with that metric. We figured out the risk management side of things. So something like a PayPal, Apple, and Google, it doesn't happen again. Because again, if you're going to go and get your ass kicked, it would behoove you to learn. It would behoove you to learn. Anyway, I got to get rocking and rolling. I look forward to it. I got a couple of FaceTimes today. You guys have been light on the FaceTimes. Guys, I'm going to encourage you. Get on the FaceTime train if you're playing for that membership because that FaceTime is going away at the end of the year. I got to rock and roll. Oh, whoa, hold on. 1 minute with God. I almost forgot. My goodness. My goodness. What kind of Christian am I? The kind that curses more than he should, I'll tell you that. Okay. It's really something I got to work on, man. But I listen to too much Gary Vee and other people that curse all the time, and I feel like it gets into my deal. All right. So it's going to be on Envy today. We got 1 minute with God, August the 4th, Envy. How can I control my thoughts when I start to envy those around me? Notice the progression of Saul's jealousy. It began with envy that festered until it tormented him. This torment led to uncontrolled rage and finally the paranoia. Saul's jealousy consumed him to the point that he could think of nothing else. Only murder would solve his problem. Obviously, he had become completely ineffective for God. This story illustrates the power of envy to take over your life if you take no steps to stop it. To stop envy in its tracks, you must stop comparing your situation with that of others and instead focus on what God has already given you. God's response. This was their song. Saul has killed his thousands and David his 10,000s. This made Saul very angry. 1 Samuel 18, 7-8. From that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. A tormenting spirit from God overwhelmed Saul. 1 Samuel 18, 9-10. Saul, who had a spear in his hand, suddenly hurled it at David. 1 Samuel 18, 10-11. Saul was afraid of him. 1 Samuel 18 and 12. A relaxed attitude lengthens life. Jealousy rots it away. Proverbs 14 and 30. That's 1 minute with God on August the 4th. Peace out. All right, there's that. So, guys, that's a really good one, man. I think that in short, what that tells me is be thankful for where you're at in your life. God has you there for a reason because that's all that you can handle right now. So wherever you're at in your journey in life, in the stock market, whatever the case may be thankful that that's where you're at and rejoice, For this is the day the Lord has made and we should be glad and rejoice in it. And comparison is the thief of joy. So don't be going out and looking at other people's situations and wish that was your situation. Be thankful for your situation and make the best of it. And if you're not super happy with your situation, we'll take all the necessary steps to remedy the situation. That way it can improve. We're all running our own race at the end of the day, guys. TJ the Wheel Deal signing off. As always, guys, stay blue, stock, screen. Peace out. God bless you guys.